Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the December 16th, 2020 meeting of the Daytona Beach City Commission. We're happy to have you with us tonight. At this time, we ask that Ms. LaMagna review the procedures for tonight's meeting.
Good evening. Agendas and all exhibits pertaining to items on the agenda are posted in the lobby. Persons may visit City Hall during a public meeting to make public comments subject to these city procedures and compliance with all recommendations from the CDC to minimize the spread of COVID. The Commission chambers will be closed for in-person attendance by the public. City Hall lobby will be equipped with a lectern and a microphone for public comment and an audio-video feed to the Commission chambers. Yellow forms will be provided for persons who wish to make public comment before the City Commission. Persons may enter the lobby to speak on an item before the City Commission when called upon for 2.5 minutes. The lobby will also have a limited defined area with social distancing for persons waiting to make public comments. In addition, the exterior entryway to City Hall will be equipped with a loudspeaker for persons waiting for permission to enter to make public comment due to space limitations in the lobby. You may also monitor public meetings from your iPhone, iPad, or other electronic device on the city's website and enter City Hall for public comment at the appropriate times. All persons must comply with social distancing requirements while at City Hall, such as by remaining at least 6 feet apart. Use of facial masks is mandated to combat the spread of COVID-19. Item number 7 is your opportunity to address the City Commission concerning any item on the consent agenda. Please indicate on the yellow speaker sheet the agenda item number of the item or items that you are addressing. Items or discussions not listed on the consent agenda will not be heard at this time. Agenda items under item number 9 are public hearings, and citizens may speak at the designated time. Resolutions under item number 10 are also open for public comment, and citizens may speak at the designated time. All citizens completing a yellow form will be allowed to speak for 2.5 minutes. When you approach the lectern, please speak clearly into the microphone and give your full name and address. The 2.5-minute clock on the monitor above the dais will start running when you begin to speak. Pay close attention to your time. You will be told when your time has expired. Item number 13 is the public comment forum, and it will convene after the adjournment of the business meeting. This is the opportunity for the public to speak on any issue that is not on the business meeting agenda. All citizens completing the green form will be allowed to speak for 2.5 minutes. Disorderly conduct in the public meeting of the City Commission. Article 2, Section 6238 of the City Code of Ordinances reads as follows. It shall be unlawful for any person to behave in a riotous or disorderly manner in any public meeting of the City Commission or any committee, agency, or board thereof, or to cause any unnecessary disturbances therein by force, shouting, or any other action that is calculated to disrupt such meeting, or to refuse to obey any ruling of the presiding officer or such meeting relative to the orderly process thereof. Please be courteous and respectful of the views of others. Personal attacks on the City Commission, city staff, or members of the public are not allowed. All conversation must take place either at the lectern or on the dais so that everyone can hear the business being discussed tonight.
Ms. LaMagna, may we have a roll call?
Commissioner May? Commissioner Cantu?
Here.
Commissioner Henry? Here. Commissioner Reed? Here. Commissioner Traeger?
Here.
Commissioner Delgado?
Here.
Mayor Derek L. Henry?
Here. We'll now have the invocation led by Commissioner Henry, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Delgado.
We'll bow our head. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity, and we thank you for any opportunity we have to serve you. We ask and pray, Heavenly Father, that you continue to bless us, continue to strengthen us. We ask and pray that you give us the wisdom to make the best decisions for this city, Daytona Beach. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now move on to item number 4, which is approval of the minutes of the November 4th, 2020 regular City Commission meeting.
So move.
We have a motion from Commissioner Traeger and a second from Commissioner Reed. Do we have any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 7-0. We'll now move on to our agenda approval. If there are any changes, our city manager will address them at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have several. We're going to add to the an addendum to the Agenda 8E, Racing and Rec Grant Application, Peabody Auditorium, to consent items. We're going to, tonight, there's an advertising error that occurred. The News Journal failed to advertise the public hearings as required, and items 9A through H will be continued to January the 6th, but we'll also have to do that officially during the meeting, Mayor.
We don't have to do that.
Oh, you don't? Oh, okay, we don't have to do it.
Okay.
Motion to approve the agenda with the said changes.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Reed and a second from Commissioner May. Do we have any additional questions or comments? All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those in opposition, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we have no presentations tonight, so we'll move on to item number 7. This is public comments by people addressing the city commission. This is the opportunity for people to address the city commission on any item on the consent agenda. And I have one speaker, Mr. Frederick Rick Browns, who's speaking on item 8C.
8 what?
8C.
8C.
Thank you.
You can come on in, Mr. Brown, we'll fix that.
Not that skinny. Mr. Mayor and City Commission, I thank you once again for being able to speak before you. First of all, I want to commend you for what you've been doing along the beach side, and I speak in favor of what all has been going on with the preservation of the beachfront area. It's really adding something to the beauty of the city. But I want to implore you to not stop there. 1.5 miles south of where you're doing these improvements on the other side of the river, in the 2300 block of Halifax, a section of publicly deeded land, deeded forever to the public, was inadvertently given away by the City Commission, with facts not in evidence and improper information provided to it on the May 21st meeting, consent agenda item number 8U. And I implore the city to take the same action towards preservation of the public areas and lands, the things that here in Daytona Beach we are so proud of and things that we cherish and the reason we live here. I implore the City Commission to review that particular item and understand the truth and get the facts out of what actually has transpired there. The public land is deeded forever to the public and is not to be given away to private citizens. Sadly, since that event has occurred, and I just went there again today to visit, one of the residents there at 2314 has decided to tear out the mangroves, which is the other way to protect the riverbed, is the mangroves, which are part of Florida's nature. The citizen there has decided to tear them out on his own against the state laws, and has blocked public access with a telephone pole across the path. Again, I believe this is all due to some misunderstanding by the City Commission, and I implore you to reconsider the item agenda on that so that you can continue to keep the river beautiful for all the citizens of Daytona Beach. Thank you very much.
I don't know what that was, man.
I don't either.
Okay. I don't have any other speakers for the consent agenda.
All right, do we have a motion?
So move.
Motion to approve the consent agenda. Second? Second. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda from Commissioner Traeger and a second from Commissioner Henry. Do we have any additions or questions?
2314. Yes, he's pulling out
2300
some kind of
Halifax.
leaves. Yeah. Are we going to check into what he's?
Yeah,
That's how to find out what it is. That's
Okay.
something totally different from what we got tonight.
Yeah, because that's not on there. Mm-mm.
It's not on this.
no,
agenda.
that's not. He was speaking to another item, but it's the same item that he spoke to the last time.
Right, last
So
meeting.
it's clearly something that's concerning to him, and we're gonna
We'll look at it.
look at it and talk about it.
Thank you. Mhm.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right, all right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those in opposition, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, moving on to item number 9, which is our public hearings. And just as a reminder, items 9A through 9H will be on the January 6, 2021 City Commission agenda. So we'll move on to item 9I. Item 9I is a Public Works Technical Services Mosaic PH 1B2 preliminary and final plat approval. This is a resolution quasi-judicial hearing. A resolution approving the preliminary and final plat for the Mosaic Phase 1B-2, a residential subdivision located west of LPJ Boulevard and north of Florida Tennis Center, authorizing the city manager to sign the final plat and permit recordation, thereupon meeting certain conditions precedent, and providing an effective date.
So move.
Second.
I'll take a motion from Commissioner Traeger and a second from Commissioner Delgado. Do we
I
have any
have-
speakers?
No speakers for this item?
Have any questions or comments from this commission? All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
We'll now move on to item 9J. It's a Public Works Technical Services Reserve at Strickland final plat approval. This is a resolution quasi-judicial hearing. A resolution approving the final plat for Reserve at Strickland, a multifamily townhome residential subdivision of a 168 lot of land located east of Clyde Morris Boulevard and south of Strickland Range Road, authorizing the city manager to sign the final plat and permit recordation, thereupon meeting certain conditions precedent and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Delgado. We have a second from Commissioner Reed. Are there any speakers?
I have no speakers for this item, Mr.
No
Mayor.
speakers. We have any comments from the commission? All right, all those who are in favor of this motion, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are in opposition, same sign. This motion carries 7-0.
Moving on to item 9K, it's the Development and Administrative Services Reserve at Strickland Proportionate Fair Share Agreement. This is a resolution public hearing. A resolution approving the Reserve at Strickland Proportionate Fair Share Agreement between the city, ADJ Strickland LLC, the developer, and the County of Volusia, providing for the developer to pay a proportionate fair share contribution to Volusia County in relation to the construction of the Reserve at Strickland, located on or near the southeast corner of Clyde Morris Boulevard and Strickland Range Road, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Delgado and a second from Commissioner May. Do we have any questions or comments?
I have no speakers for this item, Mr. Mayor.
All right, and no speakers. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. This motion carries 7-0.
Now move on to item 9L. It's a Development and Administrative Services Sanctuary at Daytona Proportionate Fair Share Agreement. This is a resolution public hearing. A resolution approving the Sanctuary Daytona Beach Proportionate Fair Share Agreement between the city, Sanctuary Daytona Beach LLC, the developer, and the County of Volusia, providing for the developer to pay a proportionate fair share contribution to Volusia County in relation to the construction of the Sanctuary Daytona, located on or near the north side of LPJ Boulevard and west of Grand Preserve Way, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Delgado and a second from Commissioner Traeger.
I have no speakers for this item, Mr. Mayor.
All right, I have no speakers, no comments or questions. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. This motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we're moving on to item number 10, which is our administrative items. Item number 10A is the Development and Administrative Services Redevelopment Daytona Center, NOVA and ISB, rezoning to Planned Development Redevelopment, PDRD. This is an ordinance on first reading. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the Land Development Code to rezone 18.9 plus or minus acres of property located at 100 North Nova Road from RDM3 Midtown Activity Center Mixed Use to PDRD Planned Development Redevelopment, approving the Daytona Center Plan District Agreement, expanding permitted uses to include various commercial, institutional, and other non-residential uses, subject to certain conditions, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So move.
We have a motion from Commissioner Traeger and a second from Commissioner May. All right, no questions from the council. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. This motion carries 7-0.
The public hearing is set for January 6, 2021. Moving on to item 10B, it's the Development and Administrative Services Planning Division, Land Development Code Text Amendment, Multifamily Uses. This is an ordinance on first reading. An ordinance amending Section 11.4.a, Measurement of the Land Development Code to provide measurements for rear load setbacks for residential uses, amending Section 11.5, Terms and Uses Defined, of the Land Development Code to revise definitions for multifamily complex, multifamily dwelling, and townhouse dwelling, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Delgado and a second from Commissioner Traeger. All those in favor, if we have a question, Commissioner May, excuse me.
Sorry, sir. Can I just get like a very practical idea of how this changes what we have right now? I'm sorry. One more time, sorry. Can I get a practical idea of how this changes what we currently have?
I'll let Mr. Morozak speak to it.
Thank you, sir.
Take this off. Thank you, Dennis Morozak, Planning Director for the city. The text amendment is really twofold. One, it does change the definitions that we have for multifamily complex and townhome. What that does is it brings townhomes into the definition for a multifamily. What we've discovered was in 2015, when we did the new land development code, we changed the definition of multifamily. In it, we took out the definition of townhome and had a separate definition for a townhome. Excuse me. What we found is there's a lot of PD agreements, a lot of them in Pelican Bay, that list multifamily as a permitted use, but they don't list townhomes. We have a lot of townhomes in Pelican Bay. A lot of these uses are now non-conforming because it was taken out. So this kind of corrects all of that. Excuse me.
Go forward, how does this help developments as we go forward? So that kind
Well,
of fixes what we have there, but
Yeah, it kind of opens it up a little bit more to give us greater flexibility with those uses. Same thing with the interpretation of the rear-loaded garages. It allows for a different type of a residential unit type. We're seeing some garages now starting to be in the back of these townhomes. It allows the buildings to be pushed up a little bit, since you don't have the requirement for the parking to be up front. Push the buildings up, put all the parking in the back of the building.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we have a motion, we have a second. We've answered any other questions? No further questions. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those in opposition, same sign. This motion carries 7-0. All right.
And for the record, the public hearing is set for January 6, 2021.
All right. Okay, comments, inquiries from the city commission? We start tonight with Commissioner Delgado.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I sent around, and I apologize if there's been an email. I just got my iPad back recently, so if I missed an email or anything like that, I apologize. I hope that the city staff was able to circulate an email I wrote about the monitors on Seabreeze. And I don't know if I can quickly send a picture to, I might have deleted them. I wanted to put a picture up on the board somehow if I could, just showing everybody what they look like and the condition that they were in when I saw them. Hold on.
Talking about the, where they have the menu of activities or?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
What's the best?
You email it to me, I'll
Okay.
send it to
Great.
Sadie.
Give me just a second to do that. It'll only take me a second, and it'll be visible by the end of the. So I thought. What? And I guess it's some sort of sign box or something like that. I see them throughout up and down Seabreeze. I don't know what other areas have them. And it has, an advertisement for a Y2K party. No, it looks like someone's updating them semi-regularly, but it's made of glass or plexiglass. The one outside my office was shattered. It's just not very snazzy and not very useful. I think you'd have to go manually and update each device every so often. So what I thought we could do, and I mentioned this about a year ago, I think, is get a digital replacement for that. And I've looked into it. There's a outdoor, something like electronic outdoor display or something like that. It's an option for signage. I know that, for instance, Port Orange is investigating allowing businesses to have some sort of electronic outdoor signage that you can change more frequently. I think there's limitations and prohibitions on having like full motion video or something like that. But here the idea would be that instead of that image, whenever we get it up there, you'd have like think of it as like a TV screen, a pretty large TV screen. It could be interactive, but probably wouldn't be. It would just be one way out. It would be all hooked up to the city, in my mind. It would all be run by a central repository. You could change them all throughout the city at the press of a button. And we could do that to update events. We could do that to run, notify people of promotions. And in talking with Sergeant Scott Lee from the police department about funding, we may be able to work with either Crime Stoppers or even anyone to do with the evacuation routes, because these things would be really dynamic. If there's a missing persons, we could put that up. If there's a breaking news alert, we could put that up. If there was a hurricane warning or we need to say this way is the evacuation route, we could put stuff up like that. So it'd be very dynamic, very interactive, and there's all kinds of adjuncts. Like I was thinking for the mayor's fitness program, you could have something that says, run from here to here. When you get to the second sign box, do 5 push-ups, 5 jumping jacks, and 5 squats, and then run to the next one. And by the time they make the circuit, they will have done, a workout or something like that. Additionally, you could have, this is what happened here, or you're in the historic district, here's what you need to see, or, here's a little news about, this is a house that so-and-so lived in from such and such a time, and you can show a picture of it. You can have a little mini website. So that way, visitors could go use them to learn more about the area. You could even probably have some kind of interactive tour where you could, by going from one to the other, you could see different aspects of the city. I think there's limitless possibilities. As far as the cost of it, I'm sure we can find it not only within our budget, but also by partnering with, Crime Stoppers or FEMA, or just because there's so many different uses for it. Additionally, I think you could even probably have advertisers at some point on there or help subsidize the cost of that. So that's something I brought up before. I was getting a quote for them just for my own personal use, but the estimate was it would be under $10,000 installed and set up. Obviously that number would go down with the number of units that you're using, but I envision having these throughout the city as kind of a networked, interactive information booth, signage, advertising, and just something that I thought we could do relatively inexpensively, because you're not going to have to, you also save manpower because no one has to go around and physically take these down, update them, replace them. And I think there's just a gee whiz, wow factor to it that I don't know any other cities in the area that are doing it. So I thought it'd be a good first step. So I'd like to see what other people think about that. And if need be, if everyone's in agreement, I'd like to get a quote, have the staff go out and get quotes and just give us an idea of what it would be. I guess we'd have to open it up for bidding and all that, I'm sure, right? But we could get an idea tentatively of what it might cost. I mean, if it's millions and millions of dollars, I hear the voice of Rob Gilliland saying $1 million. If it's going to be millions and millions of dollars, it's probably not worth doing. But if it's affordable and we can find partners to help us fundraise for it or contribute to it, I think it'd be a good thing. Certainly, I think it would work well on heavy pedestrian areas like Seabreeze, like Beach Street. And I was even thinking with the Brown property and what's being done there, you could have, the trees that are being, these plants are here, or, trees are here, or even a scavenger hunt. Hey, kids, find the 7 different tree types that are in this area. I mean, there's just so many opportunities to put up little activities at very little cost and have new changing content throughout the year. They could be networked into our parks. We could have them at our parks, and that'd be a great place to put, fitness tips or suggested workouts or just more information about the city. Again, I just think, there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of options. And if it's on a busy road, I'm sure there's rules about how much video you can have and how often the ads can change. I know for the big billboards on the side of the road, you can't have like full motion video, and I think there's a certain amount of time each image has to remain static, but you could probably get in, 6 or 8 different screens per minute. So, I'm sure the companies that sell them know those rules. So that's one thing I'd like to, does anyone else have any thoughts about that? Or do you want me to just finish my comments and then?
No, I think it's something that we should have staff bring back. Go out, do your research, look at sites and locations around the city, and depending on the cost, then we could make a decision as to how many of them we wanted to do this year, and you plan to build a network of them throughout the community over a period of time if we agree to do this. But I definitely think that we should bring it back and give us more information as to, how much it would cost. Because I think that as we evolve into the 21st century, we need to become a more dynamic, appealing, modern city, both aesthetically, environmentally. I would like staff to begin, we have a new supercharging station here in Daytona Beach. And I don't mean to take your time, but it's just on this topic. I would like for us to begin looking at electric vehicles for the city. And I know that we think of those things as expensive, but as we move into the modern world, we want to be in a city that is environmentally sensitive. And so I think that begins just as the $15 an hour for city staff as a minimum kind of started here, things that we believe in and that we want to value, we have to be at the cutting edge and out front with that. So I support that.
So what I could try and do is find out from TPO, transportation, whether or not that's something, since we are doing something with safety, hazards, evacuation, driving routes, et cetera, whether that's some funding available in that avenue. Their next meeting will be in January.
That's a great idea. I think there's a lot. I forget Scott Lee's rank. Does anyone remember? Is it captain? Is it captain? I forget. Captain Lee was telling me that I think it's Crime Stoppers, and I know they have a corporate name, but the Crime Stoppers generally has money available for things like that as well. I know that they rent out billboard space. I know that the police department has used billboard space, so we may be able to take some of our money or some of our advertising and move it off some of the bigger billboards or supplement the bigger billboards by putting it onto this. And I don't know what the rule is for getting private contributions, but again, I think that's something else we could investigate, is just having people, opt in to advertise there. And it would be another great place to put up employee of the month or anything like that. You could, do something like that, or even just have a spotlight on different community people, different city staff. I mean, there's so many ways that you can put up something new every so often. So think of it as like an extension of the website, but just, spread out on smaller screens throughout the city. Moving on, I guess sticking with the same kind of theme, I've been talking with Captain Lee a lot about Seabreeze. The Plaza Resort and Spa at the end of the road was recently purchased. I don't know if it's going to stay the same name or if they're going to change it or anything like that. But that's an exciting development for that street. That plaza is just kind of has the potential to really be a great anchor for that street and really kind of revitalize a lot of the stuff around there. Seabreeze is kind of an interesting street because it's, by day I think of it as kind of a lawyer's row, but then at night it becomes, nightlife central. So it's really an entertainment street when the sun goes down. Not that being a lawyer is not fun, but, not as much fun as Razzles and all the other things down there. So, I think that duality is interesting. I don't know a lot of other areas that have that. And everyone seems to play well together. It doesn't seem to be a lot of friction between the groups. But having a nice high-end resort spa at the end of it, I think will feed well into that, along with all the other hotels that are coming. But one unavoidable side effect of having that much nightlife is just trash and wear and tear on the streets. And, I saw pressure washing on the street for the first time in, I don't know how many years. I don't think I've ever been aware of it before. That's not to say I'm sure it's been done in the last 15 years. But, people smoking cigarettes, foot traffic, all that wear and tear, the streets become just disgusting very quickly. We've gone on walks, the city manager and I, and it's just seen, littered with trash, cigarette butts, and just grime, like a palpable coating of filth outside some of the restaurants and establishments. And in the back behind there's trash overflowing in some places. So what Captain Lee and I were talking about doing is really picking up on the cleanliness and enforcing that, if need be, even talking with the business owners about sharing the expense of more frequent pressure washing, maybe getting into a contract with the local jail to have people do more work cleaning that up in the early morning hours. Apparently, we have a contract for pressure washing there, that they're supposed to do it several times a year. I don't know who's accountable for that or where we could go and see, like at a restaurant, or if you have your side work, you put up the last time the bathroom was clean, the last time this was clean. I don't know where we have those records, but I'd like to see, or at least be made aware of when and how often that's being done, because I really don't think it's being done as frequently as 4 times a year. And if we're paying for that, we should at least get what we're asking for. And I'd like to find out how much it would cost to up that, to be a little bit more proactive. It's hard to justify, $500 a night rooms and millions of dollars of investment, and then wade through a carpet of cigarette butts as soon as you step outside. So I'd like to find out, more about that contract, how that's being done. I can't imagine that it's that expensive. But I think the business owners, the ones I've talked to, would be willing to share in a pro rata thing, whether it's by your square footage on the strip, or some other fair metric, but just some contribution to keep the area up. I was approached by one business owner who didn't know and didn't appreciate the fact that this business owner might be responsible for the little strip of grass adjacent to their business and keeping that clean and level and all that. And without someone doing that regularly, you have just mismatched growth. Some people do it, others don't, and the result is just chaotic and not attractive. And I don't think so much it was the owner, wasn't so much worried about the price, because it's a very small little strip of grass, but I think it was the idea that he had to, remember to do it, get it done, and I think he was the owner that was renting it out, so it was another thing to be on his tenant about. I don't see why that wouldn't be something that we couldn't, as a city, do, and then send the bill to the owners on a pro rata basis. We have the equipment, we have the people to do it. I think a lot of it is not a lack of finances or even a disagreement about paying it. It's just remembering to get it done, scheduling it in. So if there's just some kind of housekeeping chores that the city can do on a regular automated schedule, I think we should look into having something like that, and then talking with and passing out the costs if we need to, in a fair way to the businesses that are going to be benefiting from that. Because it would be nice to have, I don't think you want to eat outside in some of those restaurants areas by day if you could see how filthy they were. It's really gross. So, and I don't know if the pressure washers got down outside the middle of the area, but that middle part of Seabreeze is really bad as far as just filth and dirt and grime. I think having Seabreeze is a street that we've talked about before. It gets kind of short shift compared to Main Street and Beach Street, but it's
the hub.
Yeah, it's a great street with a lot of potential. And if Main Street needs, a heart transplant, Seabreeze needs a pint of blood or something. It's a street that's definitely not run down, not beat down as bad as some of the other areas are. And it's something that I think with a little bit of effort and a little bit of investment, we could get a great return out of. And now as we see more and more investment in the area, the new restaurants are opening up. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. So I'd like us to kind of keep that momentum going. To that end, I was also talking with Captain Lee about putting in cameras in that area, because with entertainment, you also have crime. You have, rowdiness. You have, fights, petty crime, car breaks, vandalism. I'm sure the police force can tell us all the types of crime that typically come with that. And then you got a residential area. Seabreeze, obviously, our residents are right there, and they don't want to be negatively impacted by the nightlife. So I think that, getting a quote on putting cameras, I think Captain Lee is working on that to present it to us. but getting cameras on that area and then talking with, again, the business owners about not only putting a camera on their property, but contributing to it. And maybe the idea could be that if they don't want to pay for it, but they'd be willing to let it be fed through the police department, that might be a way of minimizing the cost or offsetting the cost. But I've talked to, again, several business owners who would be in favor of doing that just to keep up the general safety and security in the area so that guests feel safe there and residents feel safe there. So I don't know. I think Captain Lee is going to come to us with a presentation soon about that. But in the meantime, if I could get to some information about the contracts we have to keep things clean there and to get an estimate of bumping that up, I'd appreciate that. I think that Lee was going to come back with a more comprehensive plan. Did I get and again, I haven't checked, did I get the updated numbers on the pension by any chance that I'd asked you about? All right. I had asked last time we were here about, or not last time we were here, a few months back about the pension issue that affects some of our more senior firefighters and law enforcement officers. And I had wanted to know the costs of treating them similar to the other other city employees as far as their pension projected costs. Did you get a chance to get that number?
So if I'm clear, so we are putting something forth in January, and that's the reducing of the contributions for those who attain the cap, and then establishing a 401 for those to go into. And we also talked about what would the cost be if we eliminated the cap and just had a non-capped pension.
Right, and that was what I was wondering, if you had, if you had.
So to get official numbers, you have to have an actuarial perform it. But I can tell you it's in the multi-millions. Like when we reduced it in 2011 and 2012, the savings was close to $3 million annually. So when you start talking about a pension that's capped at $66,000 compared to a pension that might be $150,000, then talk about 12 people that might have that higher pension, and those people collected for 20, 25, 30 years. That's why the cost gets so exorbitant when you start getting an actuarial projection of that. But we did not pay for an actuarial study to show us what the cost would be if we eliminated the cap, because we know that it's astronomical.
Could someone give me just a ballpark per person, per capita? I mean, I can talk with you privately afterwards. I just was hoping I could get an idea of, kind of comparing the two solutions, what it's going to cost us one way and what it's going to cost the other, just so I could see, because I don't know that number. And I
Okay.
know it sounds like it would be large in my head, but I'd like to actually kind of see it.
Sure, I'll see if I can put something together for you.
Can I ask a question about that? What is the impact of this to the senior staff that we have? Have we spoken with them? Like, are they comfortable with this? What do they think of it? Would this possibly make them, reconsider staying?
So they're clearly aware that we're in the process of implementing this solution, if you will. Clearly, if you ask the 15 command staff members, or maybe 17, however many there are, would you rather have an unlimited pension benefit or this middle of the road where we reduce your pension benefit here and then put you on a 401 as a secondary pension? They would tell you they would take the unlimited pension cap. So why not have why be capped at 66K when I could earn a $150,000 pension for life and be age 52 and start collecting it? So clearly they would want that. What we think is we've come up with a solution that kind of addresses our issue of retaining senior staff to take promotional opportunities within the organization by coming up with a method that doesn't eliminate the pension cap, but then provides them a secondary 401 plan where the city will contribute 10% and they'll put in their 9% in a 401 in addition to their defined benefit pension plan.
Sorry, I'm curious, how much do they actually lose? Like, what is the loss? Because I'm thinking of it like this.
There's
Here I
no
am.
loss.
No loss. Okay, so here I am.
Because right now you have a pension benefit cap.
Okay, so
So
let's.
by implementing the 401, it's clearly a nice gain for them.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, are you saying like what are they, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't profess to be an expert, is that many other city employees or government employees get X% per year? And so if they've been here for 30 years, they get 3% per year, they get 90% of their top 3 years or 5 years. for certain people that we're talking about here, they can never get more than a certain percent. So a person in another position might get a retirement of $120,000. These people will be capped at $55,000 or $60,000 a year. But the other thing is they continue to contribute in each year, even though they're not getting a greater percent back out of the pension. So in their mind, you could say they're losing out the difference that, you know, a similarly paid, similar years experience coworker in another part of the city would be getting significantly more in retirement. So that's what I think they would think
That's-
as the law.
So I will correct that, because that's
Yeah,
not
what-
accurate.
What we got to remember also is that because this is a negotiated sort of item, we got to be careful not to.
Okay.
So the reason why that's not exactly accurate is the police and fire pension plan, they do have a 3% multiplier. So for every year of service, they're earning 3% towards their pension benefit. Regular class employees and even senior management, regular class earn 1.6% multiplier, and senior management earn 2% multiplier. So if they both work 30 years, police go out with 90% of average final compensation, and a senior manager who's been here 30 years would go out with 60%. So they could be making 160,000 as a senior manager and get 60% of that versus 120,000 and get 90% of that. So there's probably not many Florida retirement systems, certainly from the city of Daytona Beach, that are earning a $66,000 pension. I'm not saying there's none. You have a city manager who's been here a long time in a senior management class and makes 200,000. It's conceivable their pension is going to be much higher than 66,000.
So my question would be, when I say input, it's I recognize it's a negotiated type concept here, but is there any way that we could explain it differently, explain it however we need to explain it so that there's not any confusion about this?
I don't know that any of the members are confused about it. Like they understand what it is. They understand they're in a pension benefit that is capped at 66. They're not a big fan of that. I'm sure the city didn't want to implement it in 2011-12, but you know when you're making a 9 to 12 million dollar contribution a year, and instead of 7, it makes a huge difference since then. So clearly they would rather see an uncapped pension, but we think this is the best of both worlds. And by the way, we're not even talking about drop. Like somebody could do 20 years here, go into drop at the $66,000 cap, work for 5 more years, be in the 401 that they're contributing 9, we're contributing 10. They're all making $100,000, so $19,000 a year is going in there. And then their $66,000 is going into a drop account. So when they leave in 5 years, they have $350,000 in their drop account plus $66,000 a year, and they'll have roughly $100,000, $120,000 depending on investments in their ICMA. So you're talking about a 52, 53, 55-year-old at the oldest with a $66,000 pension for life, $400,000 cash, and another $130,000 cash in a 401. It's not a bad gig.
Yeah.
Is it as good as a uncapped pension? No, it is not.
So the difference in the percentages per year is the idea that the police and fire, they grow their pension faster.
Yes, they accrue it at a 3% per year multiplier.
And someone else accrues it slower, but the idea being that they would still kind of at the end of their, each person with 30 years, is the goal to try to have them have the same percentage retirement? Or, I mean, was that?
No.
where you got-
So there are 2 different plans. Like Florida Retirement System sets it for the Florida legislature, and then the police and fire plan is the city of Daytona Beach pension plan.
Because I mean, to me, the concern that I have is I have a couple concerns about it. I mean, obviously, I know it's very expensive, but part of it is, we're investing a lot in our senior staff. So by the time they get there, they've been the recipient of a ton of training and they have a ton of institutional knowledge. So I mean, we want to prevent turnover at the higher echelons. And if these people are able to reach, and again, this may be something that I just have to see the math, and it may be a problem that on paper is not as big of a deal, but it just seems like if the employee was trying to do what was best for them financially, we would have the potential for higher turnover in our senior staff more frequently. And I mean, obviously, police and fire, they're higher risk professions, and that's kind of built into the calculus that they would be able to retire early and all of that. They'd be able to retire at a younger age, I guess, theoretically. But I don't want to see, someone retiring in their 50s because that's the best financial sense to them and their families, and lose the benefit, of all that experience and institutional knowledge, where someone in another position could stay on. I mean, I guess.
The most you're going to get is 30 years, right? So playing out the worst case scenario, if there was an uncapped benefit as far as monetary, typically 90%, you don't earn more than that in your pension. Like 90% of your final average final compensation is probably the highest out there. So even if somebody started at 20,
Of your top how many years? Sorry to interrupt.
30.
Top 5 years, he's referring to the top, to the multiplier, right? 5 years.
Yeah, I was asking what the top years are. Like, is it 3 years, top 5
5
years, top?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 3. Top 3.
3 for them. Listen, I think that a part of this is he just needs to see some numbers.
Yes.
He may want an actuary. I understand, and I don't want to lose staff, but I also know, and I was around and remember what it cost in terms of the pension if you leave it uncapped. I do believe that without a doubt, and I also believe that those that were paying in to a pension, that they weren't receiving their money back, that's not right.
Right.
Something should be done about that.
Absolutely.
The money that they paid in, they should get that money back. That part is just not right to me.
Right, and then going
That's
forward,
just,
if
you're taking someone's money into a pension, and that's me talking. But I also believe that it's in our best interest, and we're to me, this is something that they have to negotiate out. That the best of both worlds is that they have a cap, because we have a fiduciary responsibility to the city as a commission to make sure that we're not overextending ourselves, and we were overextended during those years. But they have to, if they work past that time, they should have a benefit that benefits them. And they, and I think that what he's describing, allowing them to pay into a 401k, is they're able to continue a benefit. And so I think you got to give him some numbers so he can be satisfied. But I'm not comfortable really totally going down this road without you guys, having some sort of, give him some information.
That's a fair comment. And Mr. Mayor, you hit exactly the nail on the head. If everyone knows what they're going to get and they negotiate for it, that's one thing. And that to me is not as much of a problem as the idea of what you talked about, people paying in and then they're not getting something back. And so to continue to pay into this system the same amount and not get a commensurate benefit back, or not to get a benefit back, I think that's what I have a problem with. So if we come up with a way to fix the people that we would say have kind of been in that gap, and then a different solution going forward, that to me would be my personal goal, is to treat those people who are kind of in that in-between place. And then if you're coming up now and today's your first day on the police force, you know what you're getting into. That's part of your calculus going forward. I get that. But, you and I can look at those numbers. I just wanted the numbers.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to see it.
What you suggested is exactly what he's proposing.
Okay.
And it does accomplish that, because that was the one thing I don't think any of us recognized the inequity in it. Previously they were paying into the plan but getting nothing additional out. What he's designed is where they will pay in, but their pay is going to be matched by the 10% for the city, and it's going to go into a 401, so they don't lose anything. They actually have an additional benefit beyond what they had previously had. All of this came about because of the financial condition of the city back about 10 years ago, where we were getting into budget operations where we had to put in $4 million above what had been previously put in. And once that grows, as the city grows, it became cumbersome because it's not a revenue generating department, it's an operational department. Sure. So the time that we implemented some of those things, it was necessary to keep the city sound. but we are committed to provide those benefits to those employees because they earn it, they pay for it, and they need to get it. And that's what we're proposing.
Right, and no. I wasn't aware that there was some, and I mean, I don't know how you guys managed to make it work, and I applaud you guys that managed to make it work. That must have been a very, very difficult time. I wasn't involved, so I don't know all the long nights you guys spent, but I'm impressed that you made it through. Now that things are a little bit better, I want to take a look at it, and certainly what you're proposing does give them that they're paying in more, but they're getting something back. I just wanted to know about, was there also going to be anything done for the missing years or anything like that? But I mean, I'll look forward to meeting with you, going over it and seeing it. For me,
just
seeing
to be
is
clear
believing.
I don't want everybody to think there's this rosy picture of the current status of the police and fire pension plan. It is still 74% funded with about a $70 million unfunded liability. So it's not like we're sitting at 95 funded and it's like, well, let's figure out a way to spend some money on some benefits. I mean, we're still only 74% funded and owe $70 million to the fund that's mortgaged over, the next 25 years, give or take, from a refinance that happened, 4 or 5 years ago. So,
Are most pension funds fully?
no.
Okay. So what is that 70%? How does that compare to like other?
80 is considered where you'd like to be. And we were brushed up against it like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. We were right at that 80, and then of course the market didn't do so well. Now, if we can get a couple of great years in the market, we'll be right back up to that 80 percentile is where we want to be.
I think I just need to be educated better about it. So I'll just take the time to get with you and educate myself on it and see what different departments are, how the different departments are being treated, or some that are capped, some that aren't. Just
Sure,
kinda
I
compare
can
them.
show you similarly salaried individuals in the FRS versus the police and fire pension plan and show you what their pensions will be on their way out.
That'd be so helpful for me. That'd be what
Absolutely.
I'd
I'll
like to
put
see.
some stuff together for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and what he's describing is that basically a policeman outside of police and fire, outside of, they're high risk. So, but they're getting twice what a normal person who's not in senior management would get in there towards their pension.
Right. Understood.
And so,
And the age is way less.
And the
There's a
age is
lot of
way less,
benefits
a lot of
in the
factors.
police
If you
and
could
fire.
throw in an Orlando employee or something too, just for my own personal, that'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to be brief. So I'm kind of going to piggyback off.
were you done?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were
That's okay. It's only one.
Go ahead.
I got a call when the triathlon that happened. Was it 2 weekends ago? Or that was a really neat thing. I didn't know enough about it going into it, but apparently that was like one of the largest
Yes.
prizes ever offered for a triathlon. It was a really big deal. I didn't know a lot about it, but I did get calls from the people that run the gun store, the Volusia Top Gun, that they were having a difficult time getting people in, and it was negatively impacting potentially their business. I want to commend the police officers and the police force did a great job responding to the complaints of the business owners throughout the day and letting in employees and making sure that ran as smoothly as it could. But I know that the owners were really frustrated about how that impacted their business and the lack of knowledge and all that. So I think we're probably going to get some an angry phone call at least, or maybe a visit from some of the owners who want to talk to us about that. And the impact that had on their business and how it was all shut down. There's probably no way to make everyone happy when we do those events. But just from my knowledge, I don't know that the Speedway, I think it was put on by someone affiliated with the Speedway. Is that a permit that we oversee, and do we know how it's going to impact streets and stuff in the future? What oversight, if any, does the city have on how that event would impact
It is
businesses?
permitted by the city. It does, we plan the routes with them, work with them on how the traffic is going to flow, how it should work, and we provide personnel and they pay for those costs.
So in this case, the triathlon paid for the
Yes.
cost of the personnel and all of that?
And they brought in, I think, thousands of people to the city, and it's a major event. I
Sure.
did the
World class.
it's a world-class event that is a great addition to our brand, the brand
yeah.
of Daytona.
I was
I
thrilled
did
to see it.
a greeting and welcome that brought them in, so I was very much aware of it. But it is a bit cumbersome, but we are it's a part of what I see us as doing as an event destination and city.
Yeah, part of it is I think I just didn't, again, I didn't know the answer to address this individual's concern, and they were very upset, and I wanted to be able to give them that information, but it did also just kind of, I wanted to, alert people that did impact some businesses, and there was some concern. They were very frustrated by it. I think they reached out to the Ms. Cantu as well to talk to them about that as well. But I just wanted to kind of get the answer to that question so I can pass it on to them if they ask again. I think they do want to come and address the commission. I don't know if they're here tonight or they'll come in the future. But I did also want to thank the police department for doing a really good job adjusting things on the fly and being very responsive. It's, this has been a really tough year for everybody, first responders, everybody, and it's, we hear a lot of criticism and complaint. Very few people call me every day to tell me how wonderful their life is or what a great job the city is doing. I would say 9 out of 10 calls are a complaint. So I think when we do things well, it's important to give people praise and draw positive attention to just as much as we draw our attention to negative things. So I think that they did a great job and they should be commended for that, and I thank them for it. I know that the owners were also very appreciative, so I wanted to give the kudos when kudos were due. Otherwise, that's all I have. Thank you. I was long-winded tonight. Have a good evening.
I would like to commend them too. I live in the zone in Pelican Bay, and I had to go out in that traffic, and I had no problem. I didn't get one complaint from one resident, except for one of the businesses that he was talking about. But I heard Dr. Stout was happy that was taken care of. So thank you.
But you know what? If we do it, because we do approve the routes, we can also improve on anything, and we can be more communicative with those businesses that this is going to happen, because it's going to happen. So, just maybe staff can look at the route and make businesses aware, and maybe they could do something themselves, to capitalize on the fact that that's happening. So it's just a matter of being communicative.
Commissioner May?
Okay, so a couple of things. I'm going to actually piggyback off Commissioner Delgado. So he was discussing the concept of having cleaning done, and that we ask businesses it kind of happens automatically, and maybe there's an increase in cost. And so I don't think you can opt out of something like that. I mean, if your street's being cleaned, if 3 out of 4 of the shops are being cleaned, you're kind of there, so you may as well do the whole thing. So, for years I've heard about lighting. And I've heard how people would like to have improved lighting in various areas. And every weekend I drive around the city and I take a look at the different parts of Zone 3, and I notice that some places seem well lit. And it's not because there are more lights, it's because some of the businesses have their lights on, or there just are more businesses, so it gives the impression there's just more lights, but there really aren't. Or there are some lots that are empty in certain communities, so that makes it look a little bit dark. So my question is, St. Augustine, the city manager and I were discussing this, they have a lighting district. Their downtown area is a lighting district, right? And I acknowledge that when we put lights on Main Street, because we did actually extend the lighting on Main Street as per some merchant requests, that it does make a big difference to the community. Same thing along Midtown area, right? So what are the thoughts on a lighting district? How would that work? Is there a cost to the merchants? Is it a cost to the residents? Is it an idea? Is it some areas that need it, some areas don't, some get to opt in, some get to opt out? What are your thoughts on that? Or do we have any information about something like that?
I don't think we've developed specific information about it. We did look at it a number of years ago for the Seabreeze area and all the way over to Main Street, but there was not sufficient interest at that point to try to do that. But we can get to the specifics of what it takes to create a district and what cost would be available, or what financing would be available to achieve that. It may go a long ways with a number of things that you all have brought up today. It may help pay for some of those costs.
I actually want to bring it across the bridge into the Midtown area as well. I'd like to see if we can pull the concept of we've talked about this before, brightening up the entire city. And so many residents and businesses have said, look, when we have lights, it gives a different message. It sends a different message. So that would be my question is, could we think of it as an entire city concept? But I recognize that there's cost associated with that on both parts. And what
I don't think
happens?
you can- you-
What happens if some people decide, "Man, that's not something I want"? Hey, my two neighbors on either side are lit up. I don't really want to be involved in it. Does it work like that? Can you opt out?
No.
I don't know.
Once you create the district, everybody's involved that's in the district.
Alrighty. All right, so that's something I'd like to be explored, and it's been brought up before, but I think would improve so many areas, especially areas that are being renovated right now. Okay, so moving on, I went to the Midtown Redevelopment Board meeting. My request is that when we have our CRA meetings, is it possible for them to provide us with notes or have a representative here telling us about what happened? Is there anything like that that we can do, whether it's a 5-minute presentation when we discuss things affecting Midtown? Because I went to the board meeting, and they're a very engaged group of people. They have a deep concern, and they have ideas, and they'd like for us to hear the ideas. And so I'm not sure if it's something that they can provide us with notes, and maybe we read it off, or it's something where somebody comes forward. But if somebody does come forward, I'd like them to rotate it, because each of the members of the board has a unique personality, unique perspective, and unique background. And so they all contribute something to their meeting. So that's a consideration I'd like us to discuss. I noticed on our
Well, I'd rather go ahead and discuss it now.
okay.
And I've had a discussion about this, and we mentioned this at one of our previous
Okay.
meetings. I think it's appropriate to have the chairperson from each of the redevelopment boards to give us a synopsis or sentiments from their board as the chairperson. They're the spokesperson. So we could either do that quarterly or biannually, maybe twice a year, or maybe 3 times. And then maybe twice a year, and then as requested by them. So if they had a request where they wanted to come in to our CRA meeting and they wanted to share something with us for a 5-minute span of time, then they would be able to do that. Because I do believe that we need to have open line of communication and allow them to recognize that their voices are of value, but it would be appropriate for the CRA, not for the commission meeting.
Yeah.
the
So,
CRA.
when I went to the meeting, what struck me was that when we do this, not if, but when, I realized that all of us have a sphere of influence, and I mentioned this to them. And so sometimes what is required does not come from a commission, but it comes from other contacts that we have that we can then put in touch with the various boards and say, hey, there's another way that we can get this done. And so that was the reason why I'd like to hear what their needs are, what their vision is for all of them. And I think that's a good idea. And if we have some contacts, maybe we can do some additional work and share that with them. So I would like to know if you're interested. Apparently you are interested in doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. So when would that start? I'm curious.
Well, what I would say to staff is to put together a program that reflects, our sentiments, unless someone has something else to add. But I don't want to, I want these boards to feel empowered, but I'm not one that likes to meet just to meet. And they want to meet, some of them, when they don't have anything to talk about other than their vision. But that's fine too. I'm okay with hearing their vision, but we need to have a schedule so that it's not, these are the times that we're going to do this. And I think it's, like I said, it should be the chairperson. I don't believe it should be a revolving set of members on the board, and because they can revolve their chairperson from one person to the next if they choose to do that. But I do want to hear from them, and I do want to hear their vision so that we can try to reflect, at least have in our thinking what their thoughts are, the deeper thoughts.
Exactly.
So if staff comes back with a proposal as to how this should play out,
Fantastic.
let's have-
Thank you for that. And so just some general housekeeping things. Votran, I was on a meeting through TPO, dealt with Votran. Votran is trying to get as much input as they can from residents, from staff, community members to discuss how they can best serve us. It's not about improving. They do a very good job for us as it is, but it's about meeting the needs of the 21st century, how we can adapt to that. And they are interested. They actually had a meeting this evening, and they're having meetings tomorrow as well. It'll be an ongoing process where residents can participate and say, this is what we need: bus shelters, extra routes, commuting. My work schedule is ABCD. There's not a bus that reflects that for me. And then they also brought up, and I have to be honest, they brought up other ways to travel. that did come up. Now, let's discuss that for a moment. So yes, the future is upon us, but our infrastructure has to be prepared to support that particular future. So as it relates to micro mobility devices right now, we've discovered we don't have the infrastructure. So what I like about TPO is that, yes, they have a vision, but to implement that vision, they will then go ahead and try to design infrastructure to support that. So if that is something that we would like, then it's something that we have to consider when we do our strategic planning at TPO, that we say, okay, our goal is to start bringing this into the city. In the future, what kinds of roadways, access, changes do we have to start bringing forth for them to start considering? So it's not that I'm closed to it. I'm open to the concept given that the infrastructure is correct and planning for the future, right? And so that is the concern. So if you want me to move forward on that, yes. Also, again, TPO meeting is in January. So if you want me to move forward with the Mason Avenue concept of seeing if they can do a feasibility study for what it would take to improve the Mason Avenue roadway, then you have to let me know that.
Well, I
And if
thought
you
we said definitely yes, and as far as the core of the city of Daytona Beach is concerned, other than the fact that we're still working on East ISB, I would say that Mason is probably the most important.
It's one of the
road.
oldest roads around. They openly say that.
Well, I'm saying we have to prioritize though.
Okay.
And so from my perspective, East ISB is first, and then Mason is second.
And I have not
Terms
forgotten
of-
the bridge situation, the Tomoka Bridge situation. That's still on the books. That's still moving
That's
forward.
important, and
Yeah,
that's-
it's still there.
that's-
Okay, so please, if you plan on attending the meeting was tonight, and then also again tomorrow. And then some minor things, if you think I have not noticed. Yes, thank you to the lights. I appreciate it so much. City manager and I went for a drive around the zone. We saw some really good things. I pointed out something, which was, I appreciate the fact that AT&T and FPL have worked together to remove some of the double poles that we have along ISB to, let's say, Orange Avenue, and I see them consolidating more and more. And I reached out to them because that's not a city issue. It's a state issue. And they were leaving some holes and then putting sand in the holes in the middle of the sidewalk until they could fix it. So I just want to say I recognize that it's not staff doing that, but I want residents to recognize it's not the city doing that. But I did reach out to Tallahassee, and so they are working to change that particular condition. But I like to see that the poles are being consolidated a little bit at a time, right? So that is it. So thank you so very much, everybody. I appreciated working with you this past year. I look forward to the year ahead. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I have a couple of questions for Commissioner May. Where are these public meetings that the Votran is hosting to
They're
ask
they're
citizens?
online. They're going to be online, and so if you go to Votrend.com, it'll be a Zoom meeting. Be Zoom.
Most of the people
They were,
that
it was
register-
actually very effective. There were people there from all over the county were there present. Different departments were there. Business people, elected officials were there. Just different organizations. A lot to do with the population that has challenges, physical challenges. They were
How did
there
they
as well.
advertise this? Because this is my first time hearing of it.
Yeah, they're going to be doing them quite often because they've got to start their strategy.
Okay,
They've got
so
to
it's
start
not just
doing it.
these two.
My concern was, do we have enough transportation for the Williamson LPGA area as we start expanding there? That's why I wanted those maps, to see if we had enough transportation for people moving into those areas or the development that's coming, so that we're planning for bus routes ahead of time versus waiting for the developments to happen.
Like when they didn't provide transportation to the mall.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what kind of vehicles are you talking about? You said the micro vehicle. What do they have in
Some of the
mind?
things that they're considering are driverless cars. So that's a whole thing because we have a huge push for that. Actually, Florida has a test site. I went to a meeting about 3 years ago in Orlando for smart cities. And so that's already happening in some places.
Yeah, I know
The other thing, too, is as you are driving, maybe an app pops up and you can see what the parking spots are around the city through your phone. And so that's part of the infrastructure. They can do a lot of things. With regard to micromobility, we were talking about scooters. But again, it was with the idea that the infrastructure has to be in place, right?
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, what was it? Did you say that we have a chart? Is it a supercharging station?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I do have a few things, and I'll try to be quick. First one is the Housing Authority. I have a few questions on the Housing Authority and realize it's a separate entity, but we do appoint the board. And affordable housing is a hot topic right now. And I understand there's a great deal of money, and do we get updates on this? My understanding there's around $100 million, and I would like to know what the projection is for the next 2 years on this, and can we get an audio statement on the funds?
I'm not sure how to answer that. Other than that, I would just direct you to contact their board chairperson, Ms. Bates, and maybe she can clarify with you what, how they operate. We do appoint their board. In fact, I appoint the board. I recommend to the commission, and then they either approve or reject. But I would recommend you, and as was customary, I think all commissioners should meet with their board chairperson anyway, so you'll understand how they operate. Outside of us appointing their board, we have no jurisdiction over
Right,
the
I
Housing
understand
Authority.
that. I'm
But
just
that
wondering-
$100 million is not, that's not, that's a planned development, something they're planning to develop. So, could you state your question again? Maybe? I'm not sure how else.
I just like to know what their projection is for the next 2 years and.
In terms of overall, what their
Right,
plans are?
and I'm wondering why we can't get a statement of where those funds are going. I mean, since we do appoint.
Well, it's public knowledge anyway, so anything that
Right.
they're doing is public
So
record.
when is the last time we've had it?
We don't get a statement, but there's no $100 million.
Have we ever asked for one?
But there are no $100 million
Okay, well.
funds. I mean,
well, that's just what I heard. I don't know what the funds, that's what I'm asking, if we can get a statement.
Okay. Well, I would just
See.
recommend you meet with their board chairperson.
Okay.
And she can explain to you what that project is. I don't want to misspeak
Right.
and speak for
Because,
them.
I mean, with affordable housing, I think maybe they should help, take the lead on this too.
Well,
They're doing their.
they are
That's
doing
what
they
we
do their
call
part.
fair-based.
So, yeah, definitely, just set up
I
a
will
meeting with her so
contact her.
you'll know her.
Okay, and while we're on the subject with boards too, we have some openings on the boards and a few are termed out. And I would like to see if we can get this put on the agenda for 2021,
Okay.
if we can do that. And another, Mid-Florida Housing, I understand that we partner with them, and actually I was sent a flyer on the classes for the home ownership program, and it looks like a great class they offer, but I'm doing some more research. I believe there is some other classes that the citizens could benefit from. Talking to a couple mortgage companies that are willing to offer some free classes. I have a meeting on the 4th of January with one of the companies, and he actually did a lot of these classes up north, and he started doing classes here till COVID hit. And like there is a lot more options out there that a lot of the citizens don't know, like the VA 100%, the USDA, rural housing, but that's more for rural areas, and I think we don't have a lot of that except off 92 and west of 95. We have the FHA, which is little to no down payment at 3.5%. And in some cases, they do even help with second home buyers, as well as they help with someone who's filed bankruptcy and foreclosure. And we have the conventional loan, which they have a cheaper PMI. And right now, our rates are like around 2.8, 3.5. So I would like to see, and they did say they would offer some free classes for us for the citizens of Daytona. So I'll bring that back after I actually look at his PowerPoint and things. Another thing that I've been working on, I had quite a lot of residents who live on the west side of Clyde Morris, Pine Lakes, Georgetown, and Morristown. There's children that attend a nearby school that these children have to cross 4 lanes of a road, 4 lanes without a traffic light, a traffic signal. And after finding further information, I was told by Mr. Morris that it is county, even though it's in the city of Daytona Beach. And he had told me it's about 1/8 of a mile, and we have these sidewalks that actually go all the way to Dunlawton. I didn't even realize it for the other two schools, Horizon and Silver Sands. But Atlantic High School, we don't. And we got the stats on there, and I think it was like 1.5 years that was sent over by Jakari. There's a lot of accidents in 1.5 years on this. I did get an update today from the Volusia County, Billy Willer in the district. And I guess they sent out road bridge, the department for the county, and they said something that they are going to try to expedite to get that sidewalk in. And I think Mr. Chisholm talked to George, and he might have further information on that. Am I correct?
Yeah, our staff's been working with their staff to find a way to build the sidewalk, and there are a number of options they're looking at, and one of which they may do it in-house because they have staff that can do it. It's a matter of funding, and I think they are going to be able to find the funding to do it, from what I understand. But we'll be working with them as they move forward with it.
That's great.
Okay, and the last thing I have, about 3 weeks ago, former Representative David Santiago contacted me. He is now the Chief Operation Developer Officer for the Family Health Source, which, you know, they did a lot of the free COVID out there at the Volusia County Fairground. And he asked me if I would be on the board for the side of the county to help. And they actually help with, you know, uninsured and underinsured the population, and work with a lot of different organizations. And I was voted on the board yesterday. So hopefully that will help us on this side a little bit.
Congratulations.
And that's it.
All right. And good job on the, identifying the need and then pushing it through the system, and hopefully that comes to fruition. Commissioner Henry?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Just wanted to piggyback on what Commissioner Delgado talked about with the signage, the electrical signage, and I didn't get to speak. He didn't realize I was trying to speak, but
Sorry.
I think it is a fantastic fantastic idea. I think that is something that every zone can benefit from, because every zone has so many different ideas and challenges, and it would give residents the opportunity to know what's going on in their community. It would keep them in the know, and I think that is something that I definitely am on board with and would like to see what we can do with it, and if it can be something that we can do. Zone 5 is having a Santa run on Monday, the 21st. The young man, Malcolm, that was here last week that talked about the Santa run, not last week, but the last meeting, has done a phenomenal job of working hard for 2 weeks trying to get this Santa run put together. Thank you to City Manager, and thank you, Chief, for jumping in there yesterday. He ran into some roadblocks, and you all did a fantastic job jumping in there and taking care of for him. I think that we encourage our young people to be more proactive in the community, and we encourage them to take the role and take the lead and not depend on the city to do so much and to do things themselves. And that was something that he was trying to do he wanted to do it for every zone, but he did definitely work to do it for Zone 5. And so it is going to be on Monday, the 21st at 6:30. It's going to start at the Volusia Mall, and it's going to end at the Volusia Mall. And he's got some really good stuff planned. So, and if you don't know what a Santa run is, it's not a parade, but it's kind of like if you've seen all the officers and fire trucks, they go to people's homes and wish them a happy birthday. Well, Santa Run, they just drive through the community. Sometimes they throw out candy, and the people sit out on their porch or sit in their yard, and they wave and they light up. They put lights on their cars, put lights on your vehicle, and drive through the zone. So I think that is a wonderful way, with us canceling so many activities. That's a COVID-safe idea for every area. And I don't know if it's too late for other areas, but if you like to participate. Also, let's see. I was wondering about cameras in certain parks. in certain areas of certain parks. I know that Derbyshire is a park that could benefit from some form of monitoring outside of police because we have so much activity there, and there can be some problems there. Right now, it's not as bad with not having the different sports, but I know as those sports and activities begin to come back, even though now, I don't want to just say it's not as bad, because with children not having much to do, they still run out to those parks. And sometimes it's a lot that goes on, especially in the Derbyshire Park. And I was wondering if that's something that we can look into, not the whole park, but just maybe in certain parts of the park, that heavy areas, even maybe a couple on the basketball goal, basketball court, tennis court, areas like that, that we could, I think it would help the police department, and it would help us as a city just be safer and safer as a community. And when people know that they're being monitored and they know that they're up there, and we make them where they're not breakable or they can't get to them, then I think we can see a bigger difference in the community as far as activities and crimes that happen over in that community. Let's see. And I was wondering, the triathlon, I did speak to quite a few visitors, and they enjoyed themselves in Daytona Beach. I ran into some in the store, and they really enjoyed themselves and enjoyed Daytona Beach. And I believe I probably could have participated and won that $1 million prize from the triathlon, but you know, since I have my boot on, we won't know. So,
We'll be back next year.
yeah, next year. And also, I was wondering if we could get a COVID update for Daytona, for our and what's going on. Because we haven't had one in a while.
We'll get you.
In a while.
We are working on that. In fact, we talked about it today, so we'll
Okay.
get them out to you.
Okay.
Okay?
And also, that is going to do it for my comments. I want everyone to have a wonderful, blessed, and safe holiday. And I look forward to seeing everyone next year.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Sorry,
Reed.
Commissioner Henry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't let you talk. I'm sorry.
I just want to share that I joined with MCDC, the Midtown Community Development Corporation, last Wednesday, and they started a program called SUDS, and we were able to give free laundry detergent, free bleach, and free laundromat vouchers for a free wash. And we gave books away because Donna Banks is leading that initiative, so we gave books to the families for the holidays, and we did that in Caroline Village. Our next location will be Palmetto Park to be able to do something like that. This is something that that food stamps don't pay for, and necessities that people need right now, particularly when we get excited about COVID, you know, all the toilet tissue's gone. So these are just some things, and they were very grateful. The residents were very grateful for these things, and it was with them. And then with the Santa run, I thought I made a great plea to staff to help do that, but apparently I needed a citizen to take the lead and run on. But anywho, I'm pleased that somebody's doing it. Yeah, I might come and run with you. And I just want to remind you and be thankful again that we are supporting once again the Fresh Book Festival that will happen virtually in January. That helps us with our eco responsibilities for the Midtown Center. And just very pleased that we continue to support that initiative. And in anything else I have to say, I'll just say Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and a blessed New Year, because this has been something else, 2020. That concludes my comments.
Amen. Commissioner Trader.
I just want to say how wonderful all the good ideas and the energy that has come around on this meeting tonight. I love the exchange of ideas. And I just want to say I wish you all Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, whatever else there might be, and Happy New Year. We'll see you next year, God willing.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, there was one other thing I forgot to mention.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. The parks, and Commissioner Henry brought it up, but we definitely need to have some kind of systematic review of our parks and get some of them up to stuff. I mean, the park near, is it substation 3, fire station 3? Is that the one on Halifax? That park over there has been, I think, out of commission for a while. And it's a beautiful park. I mean, we have some beautiful parks, and they're, we need to kind of reclaim them.
What's the name of that park? You know the name of
Collins
it?
Park.
Collins.
Collins Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, why is it, what do you mean it's out of commission? It's not used?
I think you can't use the,
equipment, rusted out and corroded, and we had to take, they were unsafe, so we had to take them out and have them replaced. I think that's what they're talking about.
yeah, and I sent an email to the city staff last week about getting that done, but I mean, it's been out of commission for months and months and months. And again, another great opportunity to put some sort of display there to let people know the names of the parks and things like that we don't all know. But, we talked a lot about the parks when we were talking about the homeless shelter and kind of, reclaiming it from people that were using it. But, the parks are, especially now that I have young kids, for some of my life I've ever been to parks. And, there's some great parks in the area. I mean, there's some really amazing, middle-aged men don't go to parks. I don't go to a lot of parks until I had kids.
No,
Now
I
do.
agree.
But, there's some great parks in the area. Port Orange has some amazing park. I just feel like maybe Daytona Beach is not up to snuff on some of our parks. So I think we should.
No.
Disagree with you.
I don't know. That park is pretty. There's some pretty.
That one, but let me say to you, it's very, that's why when you say that, that's why I asked which one. Let's give them a chance to go ahead and renovate that one.
Okay.
Because we've had probably, I counted 16 various renewals of parks, park restrooms. One of the greatest assets of our community right now are the overall condition of the parks. And I take my kids, in the last month, we've been to 4 different parks, 5 different parks probably. And they are in the best shape that they have ever been in the history of the last 50 years.
Well, that's great.
Overall, from the whole city.
That's
And,
great. It
so
certainly doesn't.
in fact, I commend the staff on the quality of our parks at this time. They've never been better.
Do we
So
have a?
let's get that one.
Yeah, and I agree.
Most all the cities come to our park. They're using the center, the cultural center that we have over on where the swimming pool is. They use our swimming pool. Almost all the cities have programs in our park. So it's not that we don't have, we're like any other city. You're going to find times that some parks have problems, but we'll get it resolved. But we have outstanding parks.
But in terms of the updated equipment, you think about Sunnyland, you think about Suburbia, you think about Joe Harris, you think about the new park on Bellevue.
Lennox.
These are all, they've all been upgraded in the play area, even the park at the library. We were responsible for the park itself.
Is there a? I guess I misspoke. Is there a? And thank you for correcting me. I apologize. Is there a timetable on like? And I don't mean like. Do we have some? Is that just kind of when the problem comes up, we address it, or do we have some sort of just kind of roving system that I'm not?
We inspect the parks all the time. Our staff does, and I know that in this park case, the reason it was taken out because it was not only this park, but a number of other parks had equipment that's falling apart, and we're back restoring that equipment so that it can be used. That just happens to be one that's probably one of the last ones we got.
Snebly has been updated. This thing,
Right.
but the beach side has corrosion issues.
Yeah, the wear and tear is going to be a lot greater on the beach side.
Actually, Beachside's doing well too. We improved
saying
Lennox
that
Park.
particular.
We
Yeah.
improved Lennox Park quite a bit, so thank you.
Lennox is a good
It's
park.
a good park.
Lennox is a good
Used
park.
all the time.
Yeah. So, but we have to point out the ones that are not so that we want to be great all over the place.
Absolutely, and that's a park that is not up to the. But I'm sure it will be. It doesn't need a lot. I mean, it's just the equipment, as you said, just needs to be refurbished or replaced. Whatever it is, what we do.
Mm-hmm.
That was named in our town that lost its life.
Oh, Collins, yes, that's right.
What's the story? I'm sorry. It's
Child,
named
she said
in
that
memory
child
of a
had lost
child.
his life.
A long time ago.
Long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know the history of it.
Okay,
Perfect thing to put out.
all right.
Thank you,
Any
Mr.
other?
Hernandez. No, that's it.
Okay. First, I want to piggyback on Seabreeze. The new owner of the Plaza Resort and Spa, his name is Jonathan Abraham. He and a partner have purchased that property. And I spent some time with him on Friday and then invited him to take a walk with me of Seabreeze Boulevard on Saturday. And we walked Seabreeze Boulevard and must have talked to, he and I and Bob Davis, maybe 25 business owners on Seabreeze. It was quite an enlightening day. He's committed to the Plaza. The Plaza is a historic hotel of enormous proportions. It is the first hotel, full-time, year-round hotel in Florida. It is the location of where the first woman took flight, I think in American history. It's a phenomenal, it has a phenomenal history, and he has great plans for the property. He illustrated some of the challenges that businesses are having, which expressed, to me, how sensitive we have to be to businesses. He purchased the property fully understanding that they would, have financial challenges in this time. And he confided in me that, they've probably lost upwards of $1 million in the last 3-4 months. But they are his company, and they're committed to the long haul of the property and then committed to Daytona Beach, have plans even for other businesses. But I say that all to say that we visited about 25 businesses. One of the themes that was illustrated by some of the businesses was the idea of formally naming the Seabreeze District, as Commissioner Delgado points out, is a district, it's more like a business district by day with a lot of lawyers, and you got 444 Seabreeze, which has 444 Seabreeze, which has a litany of business offices inside of it. But then at night, it turns into a sort of an entertainment hub of our community. And so many, and I spoke with, as I said, about 20, 25 people, including the folks at jeweler stores, folks at the phone shop where they fix phones and computers. And they all, none of them were in disagreement with the possibility of formally naming this the Seabreeze Entertainment District, giving it a formal name. And the manager and I spoke before the meeting, perhaps the city could do some signage. But I also would like to ask staff to look at the possibility of, and the pricing for us to have an arch on that street that names it, that calls it the Seabreeze Entertainment District. But before we formally rebrand the community, I would also say that we should call for and host a public meeting for Seabreeze to have a discussion about, some of the things that we're talking about, including Commissioner Delgado's idea of, the sort of, not the signage, but I guess we could call it signage. But I too agree, that he's right, his analogy by saying that Seabreeze needs a pint of blood, whereas Main Street, yes, needs a complete transfusion. And there's no other way to put it. But we need to give Seabreeze what it needs. Because I also believe that if we can grow Seabreeze, grow the enthusiasm, grow the life and the light on Seabreeze, that it will also help other business owners to see that they can survive and thrive on Main Street. Because the businesses that I went into on Saturday, the food was amazing. I was looking at, and I had already eaten, we ate at the hotel, and the food was amazing there as well. But I can't wait to go back to some of the restaurants that I have been missing. But at any rate, the food was amazing. Went into the barber shop, it was packed. The jewelry store, of course, down there is spectacular. So it's a great street. So I think we need to give it some attention and look at the possibility of giving it an arch name, but then allowing the businesses, because what Mr. Abraham is doing is he's going to call the businesses together for a meeting, because he envisions some updating. Now, what I see from the roadway, we've done a good job in terms of the street. It looks good. The sidewalks, as Commissioner says, it's in certain areas is quite grimy. And many of the businesses discussed cameras with me also, and their willingness to partner with us by way of cameras, because we do have to have Seabreeze be a safe place. Because when it turns into that entertainment zone, that it already is, it has the threat of not being a safe place. But the more you monitor people, the more they behave, and the more they know that they're monitored. And our police, God help them, they can't be everywhere. So we need to give them even more resources and to be successful in what they're doing. And I also wanted to let you know that I guess everyone received their copy of the map.
No? Oh, it might be there. I haven't gone yet.
Did we receive a, well, we should be receiving, I've received my copy of the map. And let's use that. I got to find the proper space for mine so that I can have it hung and I can refer to it as we're making decisions moving forward. And that's the purpose of it, is to help us to know where we're growing. A lot of people have said to us that, the growth on the west side of town is out of control. I always take exception to that. I don't find it to be out of control. It's what we have planned for 25 years. So I do understand that, when you see growth exploding exponentially at such a rapid rate, but that doesn't mean that it's out of control. These parcels and plots 25 years ago, when the city invested in LPGA and the golf course, invested in the tennis center, it was all to help that area to evolve and to become what it is now. But, I get the frustrating points of those that want to see other areas of the city grow at the same rate. It's just easier to take an undeveloped piece of property and build something clean on it than it is to take other areas that might even be beachfront and build on it. It's just an easier project, so it has a lower threshold. We can't penalize our growth based on that, but we do have to, take the benefits of that and then help use that in ways that we can to do infill housing and do projects like it affords us the opportunity to be able to do what we did on Beach Street with the apartments. Because you take that type of growth, it gives us a stronger tax base across the board, and then we can take the risk of what we're able to do in the downtown area, because we know that the last grocery store in downtown, and rescue me if I'm wrong, is Piggly Wiggly. Bay Street, Piggly Wiggly. Okay, so those that, I constantly hear from folks who say on one hand that, nothing has happened in downtown, nothing has happened on Beach Street. And then when something happens and you take a risk that costs you a little money, well, you're able to take a risk because we're in a better financial place because of the things that are taking place out on LPGA. So we can take the risk in downtown. We can take, hopefully, some more risk on Main Street and places like that with hopes of, catalyzing those into areas that will have the spurts that we want. The same is true with the risk at, in Midtown and our desire to do things with affordable housing. So let's not look at what people are referring to as new Daytona as a threat to old Daytona. It gives us the possibility of ultimate enhancement of all of Daytona. And so, yeah, the traffic is a little more congested, but most of the congestion that I've noticed of late is due to the Buc-ee's and the development. It's not because the traffic is really backed up. It's because you're going to have some impediments when you're doing construction. God help us, I think I would have to say if we had three, I would have to say that that bridge on LPGA, so it's three roads. But I think we know two of them have a great chance. We think ISB is going to be fixed, and we firmly believe that the bridge is going to be fixed. So please, by all means, and then after I come off Seabreeze, I know I'm talking a lot, but after I come from Seabreeze, I'm going to go down through the neighborhoods. We need to visit those neighborhoods off of Mason and give those neighborhoods some attention, to take a look at them, see how we can attend to those neighborhoods. Those are all in, that's an extension from Seabreeze. It's Commissioner Delgado's zone also. I think most of that I'm talking about off Mason to the west side. The south side, the north side is a little bit better shape. It had some, but the south side needs some attention. I think that's it for tonight. But there's much more to be done. And the thing that I've learned about this work is that it will always be here. It won't end. So I say to the residents of Daytona Beach and to my colleagues up here, it's been a I won't refer to it as a bad year. It's been the year that we have been given. And we have to, when you're given something, what you do as a commission, what you do as a city is you take what you're given and you do the best that you can with it. And I think that we as a city, the staff, the community, we've taken the year that the heavens has given us, and we've done the most and the best that we can with it. And I know that we all look forward to being able to say, hallelujah, 2021 is here. But I'm proud of the effort that we've put into what we've had in 2020. It is my hope that we will all have the best of holidays, the safest of holidays, the merriest and happiest of all of our traditions, and that we will return here in 2021 prepared to do the work and pushing forward to make Daytona Beach a greater place. Mr. Manager?
Mr. Mayor, just a brief thing. All the investment we put into this city over the last year and a half, 2 years, is really starting to blossom and come forward. And, the Brown & Brown building is a great example of that. But I know all of us went through some real tough decisions getting to this point. But I think the entire community is going to see a great future in 2021. And I think it's something we all should look forward to. And I know we're all going to be festive during the holidays. I just want everybody to think safely, be safe, and come back and let's do what we have to do to make this one of the greatest cities in the country.
Let me ask a question. The tax increment on Brown & Brown, was that estimated at $35 million, which was what they originally said the building would cost?
I think so, but we're going to get.
But now the building is worth how much? 60
probably
million?
about 60 million.
So basically, it's almost doubled in value from the time that we made the decision to make the $4 million investment in it. And so we have to hear from folks who say that they gave $4 million to Brown & Brown. Well, I just want people to be reminded that that was on $35 million investment. Now the building is already, and they haven't even opened the building, it's already worth $60 million. So let's think, long-term, big picture. See, that's the value of, that's the goal of a CRA, is to increase the value in the area.
I think their goal for the Riverfront Park is increased by another 8 million. So, you know, it's going to be amazing when they finish that. But
Yeah, it went from 15 million to 23 million. That's right, that's what they came in, you remember, and they told us 15 million. Now it's $23 million investment.
The other day I went for a run. I took some pictures as I went, and I saw the area from the square between, let's say, Peninsula and Beach Street, and then you make a right on ISB and you make another right. I saw that area so differently. Coming over the bridge, seeing the marina, seeing the yacht club, seeing downtown. It's going to be a very nice area down here, and everybody is so close to it. You know, there's not preference for where you live, but you are within 5 or 10 minutes of this area. It's phenomenal already.
Yeah. All right, Bob?
Happy holidays, everybody.
Yes, sir, that's what we expected, Bob. Happy holidays, brother. Okay, this meeting is adjourned, and we will hear from residents.
Our first speaker is Paulita Cundid, and on deck is George St. Pierre.
Okay, thank you. Sure.
Hold on just one second.
Good evening, Mayor Henry and fellow commissioners. My name is Paulita Cundid, 430 North Atlantic Avenue, Daytona Beach. Our family has owned the Sea Dunes Motel for over 60 years. It is the two-story blue building at the foot of Proto Group's hotel project located at the intersection of A1A and Oak Ridge. In April 2013, the city and Proto Group entered a planned commercial district agreement, which is before you. According to the agreement, Proto Group's project was supposed to be substantially completed within 5 years after signing. We are now in year 7. Another extension moved it to March of 22. The North Tower is extended to 24. It will be over a decade when all is said and done. And in the meantime, Sea Dunes has been damaged and continues to be damaged, especially in these past several months. This is wrong. The city may have entered this agreement in good faith with Proto Group, but Proto Group has certainly taken advantage of every aspect of this agreement to Sea Dunes' detriment. And I refer you to pages 7 and 8 in the packet that was given you, letters B, C, and D of the agreement. This agreement has enabled Proto Group to run roughshod over the Sea Dunes almost on a daily basis. Guests, visitors, service providers many times cannot even access Oak Ridge Approach and our property. And even if they could, they really have no way of walking safely from the back parking area and around the perimeter without a hard hat. Why? Because all the sidewalks around us have been broken up. Dangerous debris rains down on us and the Sea Dunes in the form of plywood, nails, screws, plaster, and insulation overspray. This is wrong. No U.S. mail or trash pickup in over 3 months. This agreement has unintentionally enabled Proto Group to proceed with impunity to injure and damage our property and leave it to their insurance companies to pay for the damages. It has left us as sitting ducks and exposed. This is wrong. In early October, the entire intersection of A1A and Oak Ridge was closed down. It was a mess for months. During this time, our concrete pad, as you can see from the pictures, and our fence was undermined, as well as flooding on the south side of our property. A few weeks ago, over a fire hydrant. Actions were quickly taken to avoid a deluge of water under our building.
That's your time, I'm sorry.
Cause further. I'm just asking for your help to help us. You all entered this agreement with them, and we are hoping that you can do something about it to protect our property.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yeah.
What is the city's position on that? What can we do? Ms. Kunde has reached out to me throughout the year. I've reached out to Ms. Billy Wheeler. She and I have spoken. And I bring it to us, I bring it to the city manager. What can we do? Is there anything we can do? What's going on with that? Is there anything that can be done? Anything?
Well,
If you want to direct the question toward me, obviously planning can weigh in and the manager as well, but the agreement she's referring to is a zoning document that establishes zoning for the property. there's no mechanism in that document to force them to complete their construction within a time period. What happens if they don't meet those deadlines is, and they're not extended, is they lose their development rights, which really doesn't favor anybody. So, frankly, from a zoning standpoint, there's not a lot of tools that accomplishes the goal of finishing construction for them. And I don't know, if, Jim, you have anything to add to that, but just keep in mind that document is a zoning document. It's not a contract with the city that they construct.
It's a very large project. It has a lot of moving parts, and it's complicated into the sense that it's in an area that is highly developed all around it. So any disturbance of any activity on that site is going to impact somebody in some way. So I don't think the city can go and go out and change anything that's going on currently that would have a positive impact on the rest of the city at this point. You know, the best thing we do is try to get them mobilized to finish the project so that it does become something that is of value to all of us.
Does that help at all? No.
Actually, it doesn't, because we're still getting damaged, and that's the problem we're having. Not so much, one problem is, yes, it's being extended, but we're ignoring the fact that we're getting damaged on a daily basis there. We've had, you see the pictures that's going on? They weren't allowed to park near us. Because of that, things are shaking, rattling, cracking. We're having serious problems. So when they're going to do this new road work on Oak Ridge for the next 6 weeks, they tell me, and they're going to, if you know anything about the construction, which I don't know a lick of, but I do know this, when they're going to put in that new road work, they're going to go ahead and grade it, then they're going to go ahead and prepare it for rebar, then they're going to go ahead and then pour the concrete for 6 inches, then they're going to, and that's going to cure, and then they're going to put pavers on top of it. And they're doing that in 3 stages along that entire approach. But guess what? It's not going to happen in one day. That they tell me now that they're going to only imposition us for 1 day. And that is just not even real. I really have had zero tolerance and zero confidence and trust in what they tell me. Because every step of the way, things have happened, things have broken. And we just met with their insurance adjuster last week about all this stuff. I don't want the building to be continually damaged. I think the city has a responsibility to protect its citizens and its business. We've been out of business because of this. I should not be, and nobody, no business should be at the expense of someone else creating their project. That's not fair to anyone. You know, I understand it's a very complicated situation there. I understand I've tried to get help from some of the city that they tried to help me, but their hands are tied a little bit. This is a serious situation. I can't just keep having the building damaged and then just try to get the insurance companies to pay for it. It's crazy.
And you've been out of business because of this? That
I
you
can't even get into my business. They've blocked it off. We have a very difficult time getting into our backyard from Oak Ridge since they've tore up the whole road because of the utility trench and some other things that have happened that they had to get done. But that was 2 months ago. And now here we are still with all of this work around us, constant construction equipment moving around. You can see from some of the pictures, and those are just some of the pictures I've shown you in the last couple of months.
And their construction permits allow them to basically halt her business? Why is your business closed? Because you can't get into your business, or?
It is completely surrounded with construction vehicles all the time. And when this mess happened, when they had to, Proto Group had to shut it down to run that utility line down to Halifax, because of that, they got into a can of worms with the FP&L duct bank that they have down there. And they had to, it was supposed to be only a couple of weeks. It turned into a few months. Everything happens down there, and I understand that nobody knows what's under A1A. but they come across it as just going to be very slight, and then it ends up going on for weeks and weeks. So when you say, can I get in? Many times I have to wait for a truck to pull out or wait there for a period of time so I can get into our backyard. Then I can't even walk around because everything is all dirt or the sidewalks are all ripped up. And as you can see from some of those pictures, they undermined our foundation pad in the concrete. So now we've got to talk to somebody. I don't want to spend my day getting estimates. And when you say, well, can't people get into it? No, not really. Not when both sides of our sidewalks are ripped up and they have signs up that say sidewalk is closed, and you can't even walk around there because they make everybody walk across the street. It's just not feasible. And, it just, the owners told me, just tell me about your problems, and I tell him about my problems, and he just ignores my problems. So I don't know what else to do but come to the city for help. I don't want to do a lawsuit. I just want them to allow us to have our access, and I want the city to make sure they're protecting our rights.
Can't we fine them for not allowing her to have access to her property? They shouldn't,
I have a question.
Guys, I want you guys to look at this. I don't know what we can do.
You
But
said,
whatever we can do, we should do that she would be able to access her property. I don't know, and I know you guys may not have the answer tonight, but look at it, and, she's a citizen here. And we knew that this would be a problem for her all along, but we didn't know that it would be sustained like this. Okay.
you said you can't receive your mail and your,
Right, the U.S. mail can't
okay,
even get in.
because, am I right? There is a law that you cannot block the United States Postal Service?
But I'm not familiar with it. I assume that would be correct.
I
From
believe
a
there
federal
is a law.
standpoint.
You might want to check in about that.
And I
We've
mean,
been
all
going
these,
down to the post office down here to pick up our mail. And
Yeah,
the
I
garbage hasn't
believe,
been able to be
I
picked
believe
up.
you cannot
We knew she
block
would have a problem.
United States Post Office.
Well, the problem is
Postal
they said they
Service,
can't
excuse me.
deliver it, so
it's not.
I'm going
Right.
with what the U.S. mail.
So you might want to check into that because
There-
that might be a way.
Thank you. And I appreciate you all listening, and I recognize that this is a very difficult situation, but it's still, I don't think it should be, at our expense. And these are just the highlights. We've been living it for the last several years. And granted, for whatever reason, they haven't been able to complete it yet, and now with the whole extension, I understand, but it can't always be at our expense. It just can't be.
So just to let you know, the city manager and I, we took a drive down there. We did take a look. We went, we saw the construction area. We realized we had to turn around. So we did do that. So I appreciate the emails. You're not being ignored. The question is just how to proceed. That's all.
Right.
Okay? Thank you, though. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you all for listening. I appreciate it, and I hope there's something you can help us with.
Thank you.
I don't understand why there is nothing that can be done. I think this is terrible. It's just egregious to me. It's egregious. She can't get to her property. She can't even receive mail. She can't walk down the sidewalk to get to anything, and we're saying that there's absolutely nothing that can be done?
I think the issue is that the more we do, whatever that is, it will prolong the problem. But I think we have to, it comes a point in time when you got to do what's right. They have not done what they should do in terms of the best that they could do to build and get this property built. And we realize that when this property is built, it's a tremendous financial boon for our base. So we want it done. You know, I was hoping it'd be done this year. But at some point in time, the rights of one individual cannot be perpetually impeded upon because it's in the city's vested interest that they finish. You know, they're gonna have to show something to be able to keep impeding this. You know, to me, we have to do something to try to compel them to expedite the construction. And I know that says they'll just slow down. Well, it's gotta be in their advantage to finish at some point, but I don't know. Let's give some thought to it, staff. I know you probably already have, but give some more thought to it, because I join the chorus of malcontents concerning the fact that this lady has to deal with this. Okay, all right, okay, all right, thank you.
Our next speaker is George St. Pierre, and on deck is John Nicholson.
Mayor Henry, City Commissioners, I'm here to tell you, first of all, thank you so much. I have been so busy, I haven't been able to come to the meetings. You guys have voted on the electric scooters, and I wasn't able to attend any of the meetings, and I am very thankful for what you did. And I really wish you all the best of the holiday season, and I wanted to come out here and tell you all thank you.
Wow.
Mr. Delgado, on your sign idea, as a business owner, I think it's a tremendous idea. We have a sign just off of A1A on Main Street. This thing is an information booth. I'm sure no one even knows it's there. It is actually about 12 feet in off of A1A on the northwest side of the street. And Miss Humphrey has the key to it, and I don't think anything's been changed in a while in that thing. And something brand new like that, good thinking. Thank you. Thank you all.
Where did you say it was?
And Captain Lee, is he here? Well, I want to tell you, he has kept me informed along the way of all this whole thing too as well, and I wanted to thank him.
Thank you, George.
George,
Thank you for saying thank you.
Where did you say the sign was, boss?
The sign is, believe it or not, it's on Main Street on the west side of A1A. It is right across the street from Cruisin' Cafe. It's about 12 feet in off of A1A. It's a square sign, sits about this high. It's pink and tealish colored. It says information on it. There's no information on this thing, and there hasn't been in months or years. I think it's a wonderful idea. And thank you very much, y'all.
All right, thank you.
Merry
All right.
Our next speaker is John Nicholson, and on deck is Frederick Bratton.
John Nicholson, 413 North Cranberry Avenue. Several things. One, on the kiosk that he just mentioned. It's one of 5 that were in the area that was done in '85. We've taken out all the others. It's the last one remaining. The last time I remember it being abused, the information in that kiosk was 2.5 years old. When I went to Helen about it, she said, "Oh, we lost the key." So they didn't change it. All right? That's the kind of thing that happens there. Secondly, with regard to the lady that was just speaking, it took 15 years for George Anderson to get the Ocean Walk in. That was a long time. And now we're getting $1 million a year from the one that's right in front of my house. So it's worth it in the long run. Third, she doesn't live there. It's empty. And the people that she did have there, one is dead, the other's in a nursing home. So she makes money, Bike Week and Biketoberfest. With regard to Collins Park, I drove by Collins Park 2 weeks ago. A city employee from Public Works was there, taking an inventory of what needs to be done. So they have done like 16 parks, Mayor, and that one is on the list and it's going to be done. The tables are going to be replaced, the benches are going to be painted. There are a lot of things that he had written down. There's landscaping that has to come out. So Collins Park is on the list. Police, I think, Jim, I don't know how many years ago, their fund wasn't, they didn't make any money. So the city had to take $3 million out of the general fund to make them whole. Secondly, the police, before they retire, do a lot of overtime. So if their income is $75,000, they retire with $150,000 because they work overtime for 3 years, and that's their last 3 years. So we have to be very careful about what we give away. This county and the school board both have opened their auditoriums to the public. They spaced the seats. When are we going to open up our auditorium to the public? And lastly, there have been 4 accidents now right in front of my house. One this past weekend. One of the police that came by, there is a mobile sign that they can add $3,000. I would ask the city to think about having those throughout the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Frederick Brown, and on deck is William Bideroff.
Lord, y'all. I just want to talk. It's Christmas.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission, for allowing me to speak at the meeting. First thing I want to talk about is kind of what I call the city and citizens' state of the union. You all get to talk about what happened through the year, but I just want to sit from the other side of the fence. First of all, I want to say I'm very proud to be a citizen here in the city of Daytona Beach. I have followed a lot of the activities that the mayor and the commission have done, and I'm really proud of some of the things that have been accomplished and some of the diversity that has been achieved in this city, especially since I've seen it since 1964 when I first came here. And I think you're doing a great job, and I want you to continue. My kudos to Commissioner Reed and Commissioner Henry for trying to get some of the activities going in here, even in a difficult year, and it's really appreciated. As I stated in the last meeting, there are certain psychological issues with things that we're dealing with COVID, the cooping up of the society, and it's great to have you continue to try and push events like that. Again, my thanks to the mayor for the concert series going on at the band shell. That meant a lot to a lot of us citizens. I also want to thank the mayor for his statement on the electric vehicles. I drive one myself. I've watched the beach shrink over the last 60 years, and I'll tell you, it does make a difference. And I would be happy to inform you. I'm a retired engineer. Be glad to talk to you about some of that if you'd like to meet with me on the side. But I do think it's a very worthwhile cause. Now, I've heard, and Commissioner Traeger said this, a lot of great ideas this evening. I amended what I wanted to say. I, of course, only have a time clock of 2 minutes and 30 seconds to speak. You get the opportunity to speak for quite a bit more. And some of the great ideas that we heard this evening, some of the impact can be lost in the lack of brevity of their presentation. And I think that's something that I would love to see the commissioners work a little bit better on to try and get it so that we can accomplish more things in the meeting by not dragging them on with excessive conversation. One of the things I want to say for those of the commissioners and citizens like myself who don't like to see litter on the streets, Volusia County Adopt the Road program has been very successful. Please contact Regina Montgomery, and she'll be glad to fill you in on how it works.
Did you just tell us that we talk too much?
My mic back on. I was placing it in a positive way.
You were, and you were very positive, but I'll try to be a little bit less verbose. Thank you. I know it's.
Hey, you know the old statement about shoes fitting, right?
Yes, sir.
Anyway, but I do appreciate the opportunity. Again, I've got a time clock. What I wanted to say earlier was it'd be kind of nice if you guys had one too. So,
Okay.
Just a suggestion.
All right.
I had a few more things to say.
I
but
got
my
this
time
right here,
expired.
Commissioner.
Thank you.
2 minutes. 2 minutes. Okay. Thank you.
Our next speaker is William Bitteroff, and on deck is Ann Ruby.
Everybody, and thank you for being here again, and thank you for hearing me. I'm sorry I'm not dressed, oh wow, it's really loud. I'm sorry I'm not dressed properly. I just was working and cleaning up on 326 South Grandview, trying to clean up, planting a bunch of trees, trying to make things nicer and beautify things. I've had some leadership in town here that's on your commission, sitting beside you right now, have given me some very good advice. And probably the best way to make our neighborhood and make our Daytona better, plant a tree, make some things look a little better. Talk to our city commissioners and maybe ask for their advice on what they should do, because that's what I've been doing. I really appreciate you all, and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And thank you for all your dedication to be here tonight, because I know how tired I am, and I can only imagine how tired you all are. All right. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
And our final speaker tonight is Ann Ruby.
Hallelujah.
Hi, Ann Ruby, 137 Park Avenue. I'm at Proto Group project. I would expect, usually in the PD agreements with the city, there is some kind of a best practices section. And I would think that that would be worth reviewing that for before we just say there's nothing that can be done, because usually they need to be held to some standards as they impact the neighborhood. And maybe this one's so old that they weren't doing that, but it just seems like there should be something that can be done. It is in the CRA, the Beachside CRA, and I don't know if that would afford them any extra protection or not, the Main Street CRA. The CRA, the redevelopment boards presenting before the CRA board is a great idea. The Midtown Redevelopment Board has been doing a fantastic job of meeting and trying to coming up with an agenda that's going to actually try to put some things in motion. I wish all the other CRA boards would be that proactive. The Beachside CRA has met twice in 2020, January and March. And I think for a CRA that encompasses such a large amount of money, it would be good if they could meet, possibly even when they don't have business. I know their chairman needs to be reappointed. They need to elect a new chair. I think they need to probably have a meeting in January or February, whether they have actual business on the agenda or not. And I would hope that they could take a page from what the Midtown Redevelopment Board is doing, which is really coming to life. They're doing a great job. So I look forward to their presentation. It was great to hear you talking about wanting to see things move forward with environmental impact, positive environmental impact, the supercharging stations. There's a lot that we could do, though, as you approve all these new buildings. You could put solar panels on canopies, on roofs, white roofs, green roofs. There's so many things that could be done on all the new construction that we do. We talk about all the time we want to be the greatest city, and we're doing great things, but a lot of the things we're doing are very old-fashioned and not forward-looking. And if you want to be driving forward to the future, you're going to need to start doing innovative things and insisting that the developers do innovative things. And thank you very much. I wish you all a happy holiday.
Thank you, and I agree as it relates to environmental. Even as we build new homes, we could encourage them to have them not only be smart phones, but also retrofitted for electric cars. All right, thanks everyone. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas. Go Tortugas!